Welcome back to Earth Station Trek, a show where we trek from the early days on NBC to the future on Paramount Plus and everywhere in between. I'm Charles Kelso, and it's my privilege to introduce the Earth Station Trek crew: Keith Johnson,
I decided not to wear purple tonight.
Alan Seiler,
Strong and brave, wise and true. That's what makes the Cerritos crew.
and Veronica Dashel.
Hi.
And welcome back, everybody.
Yay.
I'm back.
Did everybody have good holidays?
Yay, holidays.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, so tonight we're going to be talking about 2 episodes of Star Trek Lower Decks, Fully Dilated and Upper Decks. But first, Keith, we have some This Week in Trek this week.
Yeah. I think this is an all OS today because when we get to the fall and winter months, we're talking about the original series. So I found this very interesting. On the 1st of December, 1968, an episode, I've seen a lot of conversation about this. And I think what goes on is a lot of younger people are catching the OS. And this was the final script delivered for the final episode of the original series on the 1st of December, 1968. And that is the infamous Turnabout Intruder, which is the body swap where Janice Lester takes over Kirk's body. And it's amazing how much conversation goes on about that episode. I didn't realize there's some people who actually honestly say that William Shatner does a good job playing Janice Lester, which is weird. But what spawns the most argument, especially among younger people, is the retconning of the show. Because there's a lot of people, bless them, born at a certain time, who cannot conceive that the original concept was that Janice was not allowed to be a ship's captain because she was a woman. Of course, now we know that's not the case. It can't be the case, but it was the case at that time. William Shatner even confirmed that. But aside from that, it's amazing how many people actually like that episode. I thought it would be universally hated. A lot of people like that episode, more than I thought.
Yeah, I would not say it's the original Star Trek's finest hour.
No, and I don't think other than maybe the Savage Curtain, and the Children Shall Lead. I don't think there's a single episode of the original series that I can't find something positive about, even if the execution is bad. The whole body swap thing was very interesting. The whole concept of the crew, it was very interesting to see the crew when the bridge crew were saying, what do we do if our captain is acting the way he's acting? And I love the conversation between Sulu and Chekhov where Chekhov says, what do we do if security backs up the captain? And they were about this. They staged a mutiny, honestly. So it has that. But other than that, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll say that Sandra Smith delivers a wonderful performance as Captain Kirk.
She does. She really does. She's another character that makes me wish she was in a time where women would have been shown as captain. I mean, there was a lot of alien commanders in Star Trek, but not Federation captains. Yeah, she's a great actress.
Yeah.
All right. And then moving on to the 2nd of November in that same year, 1968, this is the first day of filming on something we've talked about, and Charles, something you mentioned that we watched a related movie to, and that is the episode Requiem for Methuselah, which brings in Flint. An episode I liked as a kid and I love as an adult. For me, I think this is a prime example of a show or episode or a topic that it's fine when you're younger, but when you get closer to the other side of life, it means so much more. And so think about an immortal man who, like he said, I've tossed 100 people into, I've loved and lost 100 times. How incredibly lonely he is. Not a bad guy, just a really, really, really lonely guy. And then Charles had recommended for us the other that show was The Man from Earth.
The Man from Earth, yeah.
Yeah.
It was also written by Jerome Bixby. It was
his
great work he worked on for many years. And I think that he explores a lot of similar themes in that film. But I think with he does a better job with The Man from Earth. I think it holds up better to me than Requiem for Methuselah does.
Yeah, I mean, it's a longer form piece, so he has more opportunity to explore some of those things.
Absolutely.
Agreed. And I think the only thing that ruins Requiem, it doesn't ruin, the only thing that you just have to overlook is the fact that Kirk fell in desperate love in like 2 hours, while his crew was literally like 7 hours from dying. So
right.
That doesn't make sense. But otherwise, yeah, it's a powerful episode. One of my faves, actually.
Okay.
Then moving on, this will come up next year when we talk about books and stuff. So this is a dear to my heart. On the 5th of December, 1967, the final draft was completed on one of my favorite episodes and one of my favorite characters, The Ultimate Computer, Dr. Richard Daystrom. There'll be more coming from me on that at other times, but such a great episode. I like that episode because while Richard Daystrom he had a mental breakdown. He was not a quote unquote mad scientist. And we find in all the following series that there are Daystrom Institutes, and the man is still spoken of with respect. I actually love that.
Mm-hmm.
I like to know what actually happened to him.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely well said.
Yeah. Another one, 1968. I can't remember, Charles, this one you love or not, but that was the airing of another show that I find more people love than I would have expected, is The Empath.
I love The Empath.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised because this is a great episode.
Yeah. It's I don't love it, but I could another one. I've come to appreciate it more. I believe it was one of the episodes that was not shown in certain countries outside of America.
Mm-hmm.
Britain was one of them because of its very, even for today, it's pretty intense scenes. I mean, they don't show a lot of graphic, but the fact that they were torturing McCoy like that,
mm-hmm.
and the way that the alien just so casually said that McCoy had something like an 80-something% chance of death when they finished messing with him. And then while Spock wasn't going to die, he had something like a 93% chance that he would have permanent brain damage and becoming totally insane. So it's a very intense episode for the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then the last one, I had to end on this one. 1992, final draft of Deep Space Nine's Move Along Home. Possibly the most infamous episode of that entire series.
Yeah, I would not say it's the worst episode of Deep Space Nine.
Really?
I would not. No. I would say Who Was Without Sin is the worst episode of Deep Space Nine.
Agreed.
At the very least, Move Along Home is early on in the run, whereas by season 5, they knew better. They knew how to make good Deep Space Nine by that point, right?
Yeah.
But no, I think it's a fun episode, if nothing else.
This is true. I agree with that. And that's This Week in Trek History.
Awesome.
Okay, let me get some comments from our intro, and that is Matt Sweatman tells us, "Hello, Upper Deckers." He also says about Keith talking about a lot of people didn't like whatever. A lot of people are not always right.
That is actually very true.
Yes.
Yeah. Tiger Blade 2002 says, "Hey y'all, thanks for the birthday wishes." Oh, I thought I saw fire. And Matt wonders if he needs help blowing out those candles.
Well, happy birthday, Wayne.
Yes.
Happy birthday,
I feel
Wayne.
like it's been a little bit since we've seen you, but thrilled to have you joining us live.
Yep.
And as we're talking, anyone who wants to join in, feel free to put some comments in. Because today we're going to be talking about 2 episodes of Lower Decks. We missed last week because of the holiday. So this week we're going to be talking about both Fully Dilated. And then after the break, we'll be talking about Upper Deckers. So Veronica, did you want to bring us in with a spoiler warning?
Spoilers.
That's right. So you've been warned.
Right.
Let's talk about Fully Dilated. Had some surprises in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was not expecting purple data.
That's right. You never expect purple data.
No. I mean, I like purple, so it was very exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we had a return to the little ongoing storyline with the temporal fissures. This time they were sort of joining at sort of the end of an adventure, I guess, where they were helping the Purple Enterprise back through the rift. And then they went down to the planet. And there's a lot. Actually, I loved this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was a wonderful episode.
Yeah.
You get the sort of time dilated thing. You get the crew undercover. You get another girls' trip. They've done a few girls' trip in Lower Decks over the last several seasons. I really enjoyed this one a lot.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, it was fun.
I was even though they found yet another opportunity to work Brent Spiner into the thing. At least he's playing Data this time and not another Soong. So,
Right.
I really loved it. I thought it was a great episode.
Mm-hmm. What'd you think, Keith?
Yeah, I thought it was a fun episode too. It was funny because when the doofuses spilled the shrimp cocktail drink, whatever thing on the transporter keypad, my first thought was, Jesus, are you telling me there's only one transporter room on the entire ship? But then I go back to the point, if you think about the amount of time they actually took to clean it up, what might be just a few minutes, that did translate into a whole year. It was not like they were just sitting there go, oh my gosh, it was long enough for them to take their shirts off, mop it up, lick it up, which was stupid. And then, but for them, it wasn't all that long. So they didn't need to run to another transporter room, assuming they had another. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. And the way they spelled out the sort of the rules of this Star Trek planet, I mean, a second was a week, right? And there's 52 weeks in a year. So if they're down there for a year, only 52 seconds elapsed.
Not
while
even
they
a
were,
minute.
Right.
I had the same reaction because my first viewing, that was the weakest part of the episode. I was like, this is like a huge step back for both these characters that they're doofusing around. To me, that's still the weakest part of the episode.
Agreed.
But I take some solace in the fact that it was only 52 seconds. And so we're seeing sort of a heightened version of what was going on. It makes it feel longer though, because it's interspersed along with the rest of the story. So you feel like they're down there for ages doing that. But yeah, I mean, even calling transporter room 4 or whatever and having them beam them up, I mean, that would take more than a minute. It might be another year down there.
Exactly.
I don't know. It's a flat touchscreen panel. Is it really going to get shorted out that easily?
No.
By a drink being spilled on it?
No.
No, definitely.
And certainly things are more, I would think, more solidly integrated in the 24th century. I don't know. Plus, I don't think that either of those characters would do that. They would not bring those big dumb drinks into that room. I mean, I just don't. I didn't buy that at all. The rest of the episode I thought was fantastic, but I just did not like that bit.
Yeah, that whole element of that was my weakest point of the episode.
And when they started licking it, it became true slapstick.
Yeah, they're pulling their shirts off and rubbing it, and it was pretty silly.
Yeah, unnecessarily dumb.
Let's talk more about the planet, because I really loved the story on the planet.
Yeah,
me too.
I like the setup with it, where it's both T'Lyn and Tendi.
Yes,
wanting the same gig, right? They're both wanting to get the promotion and be the senior science officer. Drove Tendi a little bit mad on the planet. Now, I guess if you're stranded on a planet for a year with horns, maybe it doesn't take as much to drive you mad. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that element though, because I like that we're sort of seeing these characters' careers on the show. We've had some advancement so far and see them trying for promotions and things like that, and certainly trying to out science a Vulcan science officer would probably get under anybody's skin, right? She's building windmills and growing giant grapes and things.
I like when Purple Data basically said she's a Vulcan. If nothing else, she doesn't need as much sleep as you need. So,
I just don't need to sleep.
Right.
That's not the solution, Teddy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed Mariner's reaction to realizing that she's in the sort of situation that she's heard about before, which is like an inner light situation. Like, this is my lifetime on a planet. I need to be going out there and
that was so hilarious.
Because she's up to that point, she's just been hanging around the house, right? And that'd be me. Like, I'm stuck on a planet for a year and I spend the whole time in the living room, right? Like, realize she needs to get out there and do something, and ends up getting herself arrested several times.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. I do like the growth and change in her, because your one Mariner actually would have done something like that, Charles. She would have hung out and just chilled out. And now she's actually trying to make something meaningful happen, even if she just thinks she needs to do it. So that is a change with her. I did think it was funny when I noticed when she went back in the jail, it was pretty much the same guys. Like, there was couple of dudes always, the standard jail thing you see on TV with the arms hanging out of the bars. I thought that was kind of funny.
Right. And it's not unusual, I guess, to go back to a prison and find the same inmates over the course of a year. I don't know how long their sentence is, but I did kind of like the theme that, like, those were her people. Like, that was the sort of found family she had on the planet, was the people, because that goes back to early Mariner of being in the brig.
Exactly.
And I thought it was more believable the first time she got herself into trouble because she's not used to having horns. She accidentally horned someone in the face. The second one, I thought that she probably should have seen that flame was not an accident, right?
Agreed.
It
was in front of a memorial, so it kind of looked like
it's
there's giant horns next to it and stuff. Like, it's obviously there on purpose,
right? It's clearly intentional,
right?
Yeah. Let me get some comments. Matt Sweatman says it's a bit of a Star Trek trope where the characters experience sizable amounts of time amongst another society. Correct.
One of the best Enterprise episodes. Probably the
Mhm.
best Enterprise episode.
Which one is that?
Carbon Creek.
Okay.
Did I say it right?
Yeah,
You did.
Yes.
Which even got name checked in the
It
episode.
did. It sure did.
Matt says, I've gotten moisture under my touchscreen phone's screen saver before, and it does create havoc. Fine.
Yes, but hopefully in
the
400
24th century.
years they will have worked around that.
Right. Oh, I've got an okay. Elaine says, I guess the writers were struggling with how to keep the girls stuck on the planet, and that's the best they could come up with.
Yeah, I would think they wanted
I
to
hope
tie it
that's-
in with the ongoing Boimler storyline, where he's trying to steal the vibe of his
Yeah.
alternate self and
Right.
not being totally successful at it.
Matt says, I imagine Chuck and Veronica being stranded on an alien world, introducing them to puppetry arts, and them starting to turn into a religion, destroying their way of life.
Yeah, I've
Wow.
been trying that on Earth and it hasn't worked so far, but I'm working on it. I've been stranded here for 43 years.
And Elaine follows up by saying, maybe subconsciously she wanted to go back behind bars to be with the family.
Okay, I could buy
Okay.
that as a reason she put out the eternal flame.
Sure.
Okay,
Even if you
it
don't
makes-
know it's eternal, you can still tell that it's ornamental and intentional.
Right. Yeah. Even if you don't know if it's for cooking or if it's ceremonial or what,
Cooking.
it wasn't something on fire. Right.
Clearly. Right. Exactly.
Okay. And I like the way that, I mean, Talin, if you're going to be stranded on a planet with somebody, like Talin's the one who's getting down to business. Everyone else is mucking around the whole time. Talin is like inventing agriculture and hair tonics and becoming rich.
I loved that.
Yeah.
I loved her whole invention of hair tonic.
Yeah.
Using things that they find on the planet, so they're
Yeah.
not breaking any rules.
Mhm.
See you, Keith. But I thought that was really, really good. And, you know, more so than, I mean, I liked the agriculture part and the windmill part, but I loved the hair tonic part partly because of the data joke. I don't see how adding, what was he saying? Adding body to curls would, you know, do
Right.
whatever. And I was like, oh, that's a great line.
Right. Yeah.
I really
Good.
loved the relationship between Data and Tindy.
Mhm.
I loved her kind of like starting out very enthusiastic and excited that she has this opportunity to learn, and then spiraling into this self-doubt thing where she just turns everything into a competition, a losing competition with Talin, and Data trying to talk her down from it.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
really, really enjoyed that. That was the thing that sold me on the whole episode. I really enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah. So when you saw the Purple Enterprise, were you expecting that we're going to get a legacy cameo in this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
I was
totally.
not.
Okay. Yeah,
I
it seemed like
didn't-
that's a big drop to just have it be a throwaway at the beginning of it. Oh, look, and the Enterprise D. You
Right.
know?
Right.
I didn't expect to get Brent Spiner back.
I didn't expect it to be Data, but
Right.
I was expecting maybe you would see a shot on the bridge of all of them.
Right.
You know, maybe one or two would have a speaking part, but you would see
Right.
all the characters. I
Yeah.
didn't expect a revisit of the Data's head in San Francisco shtick, you know?
Right. Yeah. And I gotta say, I felt like Brent Spiner stepped right back into 30 years ago Data.
Mhm.
100%.
Especially considering all of the Sungs and alternate datas and things that he's played in the last 30 years. I mean, it's been a
Right.
long. I mean, I guess he played some classic Data at the beginning of Picard
Yes.
when Picard was having dreams about him, and then at the end of the season, right? So I guess it hasn't been just 30 years since he's played Data straight, but
Right.
still, I thought he stepped right back. It could be like season 5 TNG Data,
Mhm.
and I thought that he stepped right back into it.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, the dialogue they wrote for him wasn't exactly classic Data dialogue, but
Sure.
I thought it worked in this context, and I thought his delivery of it was perfect.
I heard him use one contraction, but I thought, but it's purple Data, so that's no biggie.
Right, but if you pay attention to regular Data, you'll catch a contraction here
Yes.
and there as well.
You're right. Yeah, that's got to
It's a
be almost.
glitch.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's a glitch like what Keith just experienced. Because
Yeah. that-
Elaine
I hope
wants
that
to know,
doesn't
did
come
Keith
back.
get trapped in a time fissure?
Keith's been gone for a
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Wow.
having some issues over here.
Yeah. but I thought this was a really good use of the alternate, like the multiverse thing
Mhm.
of you can bring
Yes.
back Data, right? Because it doesn't make any sense in this time, in 2382 for Data, classic TNG Data to show up. He's dead at this point. But no, I thought that was great, and making it purple was just a nice like visual reminder that this is not our Data. They can do whatever they want with him because it's another Data from another universe. I thought it was great, and I like the setup of finding him in this, like, this shuttle was demolished. Data's body is demolished, and it's just his head, because you gotta wonder, like, why is the Enterprise D like not looking for him? You know, so I would guess that they thought that he had died in a crash. Like, we don't know that that adventure, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, may I ask you some questions? As long as it doesn't involve arms or legs, yes, you may.
I liked, for considering the storyline of the T'Lyn and Tendi storyline. I guess Tendi and T'Lyn, because Tendi was sort of the front and center part of it, was trying to get a senior scientist job.
Yeah.
I thought having Data being there to advise her and give her his, react to her and give her knowledge and that sort of thing, I thought that worked very well.
Particularly for the reason, because he says, I was the only android in Starfleet. I know what it's like to be the only one.
Right.
And I thought that was a really cool touch. It was a great moment, both for Data and for Tendi.
Yeah.
Here's my question, though. Are they even eligible? Because they're Lieutenant JG. They would be jumping like 2 or 3 ranks to get to senior
I thought that as well.
Yeah. Well, maybe on the Enterprise, but I mean, out on the Cerritos, I mean, I don't know what rank you have to hold, because we saw like Harry Kim was the chief ops officer, and he was an ensign.
Well,
we've seen, Chekhov was the navigator for far as we can tell on the Enterprise, and he was an ensign. So I don't know. It seems like if you're the bridge crew, you're part of the gang, whether you're an ensign or whether you're a lieutenant or what.
But at least in 2 other series, we saw that the science officer was third in command of the ship.
Yeah, true. I thought that too.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
That seems like a huge jump for a lieutenant junior grade.
Yeah,
but what do I know?
You might have mentioned it while I lost my connection, but I did find it interesting that the emotionless Vulcan arguably had the best life on the planet in terms of integrating with the society and stuff. I mean, the hair care stuff was weird, but I guess she's like a Vulcan. She didn't spend time freaking out. She just got to it. She's brilliant.
She would work.
Yeah, and remember they already pointed out that she's kind of sort of not like a regular Vulcan. She's got just a little bit more emotion close to the surface than others. So because it still takes something to think about looking at hair care and beauty products and being successful by it. So I thought that was very interesting, though, that she was the one that had the fullest life there.
Yeah.
And I think Tendi would have too, had she not become completely obsessed with this idea of competing with T'Lyn over a position that she had no idea of knowing this, but that T'Lyn was going to turn down.
Right. Yeah.
But the solution to that, of course, was that they both get picked for the job, which I thought was a really cool solution. And I loved their in conversation in 10 forward or whatever they call it. I don't remember. But they're like, guess who got the job? We both did. And Mariner says, oh, that's great. Good on Carol. That was a great decision. Her relationship with her mother has so drastically changed since the beginning of this show, and I absolutely love seeing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we haven't even mentioned like the real star of this episode. Was it Sneed? Was that his name? The little lurker guy?
Sneed or Snell?
Snell?
I don't know.
Snell.
Snell.
Snell who lurks. Snell who lurks. Yeah.
I thought Snell was I thought he was great, because every time they're undercover on a planet, there's always that like one dude or one woman who's suspicious and like watching them around corners and trying to prove they're not who they claim they are.
Well, it was.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. It was funny when one of the dudes in the village, whatever, says, Snell, stop lurking so much. So it's great.
His little lurking sound. You're killing me.
Was anyone else convinced through the entire episode that was Patton Oswalt?
No, I didn't even think about that.
Oh my God, it sounded
could have been.
It wasn't. It sounded
Ah,
exactly like
yeah.
him to me. And I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, they got Patton Oswalt. And, Patton Oswalt is a big Trek fan.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
he would do it
Oh,
if
yeah.
they said, hey, Patton, we have a role for you. Okay. But I was the whole time, I was like, oh my God, they got Patton Oswalt. And then I'm looking at the credits and I'm like, okay, I guess they didn't.
But you're right.
Now-
There's always that character. You're right. He's always being suspicious, and it honestly didn't say all that much that really required him to go that far that fast. They didn't
Right.
have whatever the money was, and instantly he's super suspicious. I mean,
Right.
but again, they played into the stereotype really well.
Yeah. And I love the line like, we're from the North.
Mhm.
That always just seems that's the excuse they always give.
Yes, absolutely. There's something about the North.
Right.
All the shady
Discovery
characters.
recently they used the East.
Okay. Well, fair enough.
Okay.
I mean,
Just
random geographic
Yep.
direction. I want to do a Snell costume now and just like lurk around Dragon Cup.
Oh, fun. All right. Let me get some more comments because Matt and Elaine are chatty tonight. Nothing wrong with that. Don't stop. Matt says, I did think it was odd, Tendy's behavior when she's usually one of the more together amongst the gang. That's true.
I don't know. She's pretty excitable. You remember when she was chasing Rutherford around with that like dart gun and trying to cut his brain out?
Right.
When she sets her mind on something, she gets pretty focused.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Elaine says it would have not been the same story at all, but I think if Rutherford had been around, he would have been able to talk Tendy off of her competitive ledge. Yeah.
Probably.
Okay.
I think so too.
100%.
Yeah.
And Matt says every planet has a north. I was going to make that same joke. That's a Doctor Who joke, Keith, in case you don't get that.
I did not know that.
There you go. It's from the very first episode of the revival of the series in 2005.
Ah, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is one of my favorites of the season.
Yeah, I
don't
really
know if
enjoyed it.
I don't know if it tops out that Klingon farming planet episode for me,
Mhm.
but I thought this was
Yeah.
very well done. It was a very
Yeah.
good. I've said this before on the show that sometimes I don't really appreciate what they do with the legacy characters when they come back. You know,
Right.
I was sort of iffy on the portrayal of Riker in Lower Decks because it's very like a cartoon Riker.
Yeah, he is.
Tom Paris was wasted, but there are others
Yeah.
like Rom and Lita that I thought were done very well, and I thought that this is a great use of Data. It doesn't really continue on like Data's character from the shows, which in some cases I like when they do that. But this, I thought it was just a great like way to revisit Data for an episode.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Just classic
agreed.
Data.
Yeah,
He
I
was like,
really
I have to
enjoy.
get back to Geordi. That was so cute.
Yeah.
That's true. I didn't think about that, but yeah, that was a lovely moment.
Mhm.
I will say that Klingon episode was really, really good. I don't
Right.
know. I'd have to go back and watch all of them once the season is done to decide which one my favorite might be, but it's got to be between one of those two
Right.
because they were both excellent. And I think I probably would go with the Klingon one.
Mm.
Although tonight's episode was pretty
up there.
damn good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that in a second, but spoiler alert, I like it.
I did wonder did Talin bend the prime directive by becoming a millionaire? Because I mean, she said basically it was okay because she only used products that they had available on the planet. Then she just so casually goes, "We are rich," which I just thought was great.
Yeah,
I don't know. If being, I don't know if becoming rich. I mean, and I guess in a sense she's hoarding wealth, and that could have an impact on the society. But I mean, it's not like she invented like the cure for cancer or something. You know,
Right.
It's something that is superficial, and I guess if they don't have her recipe, then their locks won't flow.
and it's not like she, accumulated all that and took it with her.
Right.
Not that that would really make that big a difference, but it's nothing like that. So I don't know. I don't
It
think
would have
so.
been funny if she'd introduced bowl cuts, and then that would be.
Oh gosh, that would be great.
Nice.
That would have been
It'd be
awesome.
funny if she did something similar and just gave everybody the check off.
Right. Yeah, I like Talin a lot in this one. I love that everyone else is like doing their crazy lower deck shenanigans. All of our classic
Right.
lower deckers are basically in shenanigans, and Talin just like got to work.
Yes. Right. Yeah, I loved it. And I've said I don't know how many times that Talin has become one of my favorite characters on the show, and I thought she was very well used in this episode. After we had gone, what was it, 2 or 3 weeks without any Talin in an episode, and I had been missing her. And I was very happy to have her back.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, do we want to take a quick break? And then when we come back, we'll get into tonight's episode, Upper Deckers or Upper Decks.
Right.
So stay right
Upper
there.
Decks.
Hey, and we're back.
Look at that. A brand new ad.
Yeah,
Woo!
if you're listening on the audio podcast, then you missed it. There was an ad for Stellar Fest, which is a sci-fi convention that we're all involved in. That's coming to Atlanta April 4th through 6th. I'm running the Star Trek track, and Alan's running the Doctor Who track, and Veronica and Keith are 100% getting roped into both, I'm sure.
Right on.
Which I'll
In
throw out
fact-
there, too, that we're accepting panel submissions. If you go to
Yeah.
stellarfest.org.
Yes.
I know it was just on that promo and I missed it, but I was excited. There was a wormhole and everything. But yeah, we're accepting panel submissions. So get your panel submissions in and volunteer, because we'd love to have you at Stellar Fest.
Right. And you said that Keith and Veronica are going to get roped into both. Yes, that is correct. I will plan a Doctor Who for people who have never seen Doctor Who panel just to have Keith on it.
Oh, okay.
Keith can be on that panel.
Yeah, I've seen some, but not like you guys. That's for sure.
Yeah. And we're back talking about Upper Decks. Now, Alan, you started off that you liked this episode. Go ahead.
Well, first, comments from the break.
Okay.
Matt says, Alan and I are in tune mentally tonight. Oh, okay. Well, that's nice. I had to make sure and get that one in.
Mhm.
And Elaine says, ooh, super cool ad. Looking forward to Stellar Fest. Yes. Okay. So wait, one more. Let me just get it so we can get it out of the way. Panel ideas and volunteer application have been submitted. Oh, excellent.
Yay!
Thank you, Elaine. Okay. Yeah, I really wait, which one are we talking about? What was
Upper
today's?
Deck.
Oh,
Upper
okay.
Decks.
Okay. So as soon as we saw the list of episode titles at the beginning, before the season ever started, they released all 10 episode titles, and I saw Upper Deck. I wonder if they surely wouldn't use that title unless they are actually doing an Upper Deck flip on the TNG Lower Decks episode. Like, I was convinced that it was going to be our 4/5 main characters were not going to be in this episode at all, or very little.
Mhm.
And the whole thing was going to center around the bridge crew. And I was very excited about that. And I got my wish.
Nah, absolutely.
It was really interesting to see all these personal stories from each one of those characters, and very, very different personal stories. I mean, there was some really intense stuff in some of those.
Mhm.
And it was just good to see a focus on them for a change.
Right. Keith, what'd you think?
I liked it too, and I do like the way they flipped it again, because the lower deckers on this show were saying nothing ever happens to the command staff. Everything happens to us. Whereas most of us who watch Star Trek know it's pretty much always the command staff and the people who, the people who go, the Kirks, the Spocks, the McCoys, the Ciscos, and the lower deckers are either not seen, or they're the red shirts who get killed, or the meteorologist, the geologist you'll never see again that gets killed, or something like that. And I like that they flipped it in this case, and it's actually, the command staff has all kinds of things going on. I thought that was cool. And also, like any Star Trek show, when they show the captain just doing kind of regular stuff, not saving the day, and in battle, there's the diplomacy, there's going to talk to people. I like stuff like that.
There's attending crew members' recitals.
Yeah, that was great.
I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sitting through a tuba concert and then
Yeah.
getting that guy's dramatic reading, and she's like, oh God, get me out of here. I loved it.
Right. Veronica, what'd you think?
I really liked seeing Carol walk around. That was one of the things that first came into my head, was because that's kind of like how when you're the head of a section, you're like constantly going from one thing to another, and a lot of them are just boring meetings. And it was interesting to see that side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
I guess I'm kind of the odd man out. I didn't hate it or anything. I thought this episode was fine. It was kind of a letdown for me after last week. I think it's a good idea. There's some good stuff in it, but there were some things about it that I just didn't really care for. And in part, I thought they leaned into like showing that the incompetence of the bridge officers is actually a strength in a lot of cases, and where to me it just made them seem like they're more incompetent than I thought they were before watching this episode. You know,
you're right. You're right.
And to Anna in particular. And I gotta say, I mean, this is gonna be an unpopular opinion. Don't tune out, folks. This is just my opinion. But I don't like Ta'ana. I don't think I ever really have. I don't like that character. The cat thing doesn't do anything for me. The cat jokes. You giggle every time there's a cat joke, and I'm not a cat guy. Sorry, everybody. Don't unsubscribe. But I just don't like Ta'ana. And 2 weeks ago, it was focused on her a lot, where I felt like she should have been like brought up on charges for assault when she attacked Butler. And then this week it was the weird pain thing. Those two elements of the story I didn't really care for at all. And then sorry, since I'm on a tear, the premise of the episode is them saying like everything always happens to us. It's like we're the main characters on this show. Yeah. But the whole 4 seasons up to now has been like, how come no one tells us what's going on? Everything's happening in like that's been a recurring theme on Lower Deck since it started, is that these guys are always out of the loop and the bridge crew won't fill them in. And sometimes that has led to the adventure taking place because our team was out of the loop. And then it seemed like a hard left turn this time. They're like, wow, it's weird that nothing ever happens to the bridge crew. Like, that's not been the case on the show up to now. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's a fair point.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
well, that's Charles for you.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I didn't mean to ruin it.
He's always going to be thinking.
You know, what you're saying, Charles, mentioned with that and Tahana, in a larger, high-level way, I have felt that this season almost feels more like it could have been a first season than a final season. There are certain aspects of it that do make me feel like they've gone slightly backwards in portrayals. I don't know why, but it's not bad. But I do see just a little bit more what you're saying, a little bit more of the slapstick, a little bit more of leaning into the broad humor than I was kind of used to. So this could actually be season 2 rather than season 5 in some ways.
Yeah. Like I really like the insights into Shax.
Yeah,
he's still traumatized by what happened to him on Bajor. That we got little glimpses of him. We even see a younger Shax, but then at the same time, then he murdered all those guys and was like had no idea that they were alien invaders. Like I'm really glad that they happened to be alien invaders and not like crew members who came in. Because at the end, he was like, "Oh, so sorry about that." It wasn't like that's my strength is that I accidentally kill the alien invaders. Like no, you're just killing whoever walks in the room.
I did think that was super awkward.
Yeah.
I liked the Shax storyline. I liked, seeing the struggle that he goes through and seeing it really depicted in such a dramatic way on screen. But the fact that he goes on this killing spree because he thinks he's, seeing Cardassians, that was a bit far.
Yeah, not really a trait you want in your security chief.
No.
Yeah, totally.
Whoever's in the room because he thinks they're Cardassians.
Yeah, totally.
Would you rather have the murder security chief or the chief engineer who keeps forgetting to go back and fix the jury rigging he's done in the Warp Core?
Speaking of characters one doesn't like, mine, and I was expecting to get something out of him this week because he was seen in the opening scene, and we didn't, thank goodness, but that is Miglimo.
Okay, you don't like Miglimo?
First of all, he's got a stupid name. And second of all, he just does zero for me. Right. And I was thinking they were going to, but we did get a Miglimo episode earlier in the season where the 2 food critics come on board. So I guess they felt like they didn't have to, shoehorn him into this one also when they've got so much to do with so many other characters.
Right.
So I don't know. He's not my jam.
I was very sad we didn't get more Kayshawn.
True.
Yeah,
that would have been very welcome, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, Miglimo is a top character for me. I did like the food critic thing. I liked that episode, and I think for me the best Miglimo moment though was when he was in that Orion
I knew exactly
arena last year. Yep. I thought that was great, but I don't want to derail it.
No, agreed. So let me get 3 comments from Matt. he says it makes me wonder what adventures of the Cerritos we're missing. And I agree.
I want to see the adventure that
lot.
Mariner went on that she talked about at the
Yeah,
beginning.
I had that
Yes.
thought watching it. I'd rather have watched that.
I know.
That sounds
Agreed.
awesome.
He says, I love Shaq's battles with his demons from the Cardassian occupation.
Mhm.
And he also says, I think he subconsciously knew they were invaders and used his issues with Cardassians to let loose. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's doing the scriptwriter's job for him, but
Yeah, thank you.
your prerogative.
Exactly.
And it's worth pointing out too that, I mean, we're talking about unseen lower decks adventures. There's a comic book now that you can get the comic book and see additional adventures, and they have books. Like we're getting more adventures of the lower deckers, even if it's not on television. So maybe they'll do the Trapped in the Painting episode.
Yes.
As a comic book. I would read it.
Yes. The nice thing about Lower Decks, and this is the same with the original animated series, is that you can translate that to a comic book without missing any beat, visually speaking, because everything else you have to figure out a way to draw a character that looks like that character. And these, they're already cartoons. You just slap them on a page and put a dialogue bubble above their head.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I can't wait to read them.
Yeah. And I'm being kind of negative in this episode. I will say I agree with you. I really like the idea of doing the upper decks, like obviously the show is inspired by the episode Lower Decks from Next Gen. It makes perfect sense to flip it and do upper decks before the show's over. I think that's a great idea. And I did really like, having to watch the captain's job as she's having to be the manager of the ship. Right? That's part of being a captain. It's not just being awesome and fighting aliens all the time. And I thought that she got a really good turn at the end.
Yes.
When she got to use the weird quirk of the alien of the week against them to run them off the ship. I think that's great. That's classic Star Trek. And I really like the moment where that alien bursts out of the dude and she goes, "You're not from Starfleet." That's a very old sci-fi line, right?
Yes. Oh, I loved it.
And I loved that guy was the same race as Jarshinyo, who was the president in when they Homecoming and Paradise Lost, when they went back to Earth on Deep Space Nine, and the sort of cow-looking dude was the president. And this guy looked like he was from the same species as that guy.
Wow, deep cut.
You remember that guy?
Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's been a while since I've watched that episode, and I need to.
Those are good episodes.
I didn't make the connection.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. And I love it, just dropping in a one-time, once seen alien race, and there's got to be more than one of them, right? So drop them in an episode. I think that's great.
He did look familiar, but I could not place where from.
Yeah, that's who it is.
Okay.
Not him specifically, but that same species.
You never know.
Hey, maybe the president thing didn't work out. He wasn't a great president, if I'm being honest.
Well,
he got really pushed around.
He's retired
he was
since then.
He wasn't that alien species, because remember.
Well, he was the same species.
No, but
you mean he was a Clicket?
He was Clicket.
Yeah, and I thought Clicket was kind of a cute name. It is a cute
Star
Trek cartoon. Clicket it's a memorable name, and I like that they have a. Because a lot of Star Trek races have like their weird little thing, and theirs is they hate being complimented. They can't take it, which is, you should take that into account before you invade a ship, because that's a strategic weakness.
Yeah. Now that that actually was a little too slapsticky for me, because it was way too much of a weakness. But yeah, like I said, I they can't all be bangers, as they say. But I enjoyed a lot of it. I did like the fact with Freeman and Veronica, you were just saying as a captain, you manage. I like the fact, for example, she had, I don't know if the actual term is attache, but I like the guy or adjutant, whatever the term is, the dude who helped keep her schedule and keep her on track. Because what I know of real military ship commanders, you have something like that when you do that. So I did like that. It was just kind of cool to see that. Picard would do it every now and then.
One of those.
Yeah, right. Every now and then Picard would do it, like when they made him do Captain Picard Day and things like that. But you don't often see that on the shows.
Yeah, and like on TOS, there was the yeoman. You'd have like Janice Rand or somebody, but we didn't often see them acting as the captain's secretary. Keeping track with the daily schedule, and you've got to be here at this time and here at this time, and so forth. And I like that we got to see Mariner's parents together.
Yeah.
Which has been kind of rare in the show. Usually they're having to talk long distance over a few screens. So I like that he showed up there in person.
Yeah, that was very sweet. I really loved it.
Yeah.
And I forget the name of the guy. He at one point he was Ransom's little buddy. He's been like a fixture on the show. The guy with the mustache and the bald head. but in this one, he was the captain's assistant. I thought this was a better use of him than we've gotten some points in the past.
Yeah.
Sometimes I find that guy annoying. He had like the weird back thing in the bar one time, and he was obsessed with Ransom at the start of season 2.
Oh, I don't remember that at all. I thought he was just a walk-on character.
Me too.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either. Okay. Yeah, it's a much better function for him.
Oh,
It just makes sense. Yeah, I bought him here. He didn't really stand out in any weird
Yeah, and
way.
he wasn't doing something stupid.
Yeah.
Although, we were talking about the upper deckers, side hustles. They're the plot that they're all on. I will say, you say what you want about Dr. Ta'ana and that plot that they gave her, but her bitchy gay assistant, dude, that was the best. That was the best, because ain't nobody gonna take Ta'ana's shit except that guy. He's like, you know what?
He's probably only one that could do that job.
Exactly.
He also seems the only one who
loved that.
He also seems to be the one who can talk to her like that too.
Right.
He was not afraid
like everybody
of
else
her.
is afraid of you. I'm not afraid of you.
Yeah. I mean, Boimler said one word wrong 2 weeks ago and got mauled.
Yeah. Yeah. I loved that. That was fun.
Yeah, he was good. I didn't really care much for Ransom's strategy. To me, seems risky.
Stupid.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was stupid. I did not like that at all. It just made him look like a buffoon.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which
and a
what
lot
are
of
those things called on the meteor? Bagoon.
Bagoon.
Was it? I forget.
So he looked like a bagoon.
I did like that. I
Yeah,
like
the
that there
bagoon.
was cosmic creatures. I
do
like
too.
when Star Trek does cosmic creatures, and Lower Decks is in a good position to do that sort of thing.
Sure.
Mhm.
And the bringing the asteroid or the meteor or whatever it was into the ship it reminded me of that bit in Discovery where they did a similar sort of thing, and they captured the big rock out of the ring or whatever.
Yes.
And also that the thing looked kind of tardigrade-y. Like it seemed to me like it's very much playing off what Discovery did.
That's exactly what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Too
thought
bad
that was
they didn't
kinda
use
neat.
him to eat some mushrooms and fly across the universe.
Yeah, the little asteroid was like a salt lick for them, so that was kind of cool. It was interesting when they wanted to try to get one in, and then they couldn't keep them out, and they all started pouring. And I noticed a couple of them, they come in and they would lick the thing, and then they would immediately turn invisible and just kind of do whatever they were doing.
Yeah, and I like that they have a natural cloaking device, and that's what the Clickets were after.
That was a
the
great
natural cloaking
angle.
device. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like that a lot.
And I liked all the other lower deckers who I guess who are still ensigns, who were like the Beta Shift and Delta Shift folks.
Mhm.
I hated that it was an upper deck story, but it was about the lower decks saving the day.
I agree.
Like, I would love to
thought
have just seen a straight up Star Trek adventure with the upper deckers.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I was really kind of regretting that whole, two other teams of lower deckers get their moment, which I don't mind that happening, but not in this episode. That seems like it's not the place for this to happen.
Right, because that also happened in the engineering
Yeah,
storyline.
let's say that happened in engineering.
Yeah, it also, I mean, you could say the same thing happened with Ta'ana's storyline because it was more about her assistant, and I mean, even the captain's storyline. I guess a lot of the upper decker storylines were really about like their subordinates more than it was about them. Which maybe that's what they're going for. Maybe I'm complaining about the story, but I would have just loved a straight up Star Trek adventure with the upper deckers being a Star Trek crew.
Me too.
And being confident and not being like, hey, I'm doofy on purpose and that's how I get things done.
Yes. Because if you remember, when we in the original TNG Lower Decks episode, the whole story is seen from the Lower Decks characters, and the bridge crew goes into the whatever, what is it called, the briefing room or whatever, and to discuss the mission and to plan. And that's when the cameras normally follow them in, and you see what goes on in there. And you didn't. You see the cameras remaining on the bridge with the pilot and the whatever, and they're like speculating, what do you think's going on in there? What do you think's happening? So everything you see in the episode, you don't see what the upper deckers are going through. And I really wish that we had done that sort of thing where it's all the upper deckers. And you see the episode from their POV rather than from the involvement of, so many lower deckers.
Right. Or you can even have scenes where they're carrying on with their mission, and then why is that lieutenant or ensign doing that weird thing, you know,
Right.
because we having been following them for so long know that they have their whole storyline that's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would have preferred that.
It just
Oh.
it just seems like they've done so much, you know, to get away from the whole, this is not the top ship of the fleet.
Right.
You know, we're kind of a junky ship. Things don't go as well here. They've moved away from that by showing some competence in the bridge officers and showing that they're good at their job. And I felt like you have talked me into maybe not liking this episode as much as I did going into it.
Well, 'cause we've seen some
But you're absolutely right, though. I mean,
yeah, we've seen some really awesome ransom stuff as the show's gone on. Like, remember when he was trapped in that arena and had to fight his way out and sort of earned Mariner's respect, and then he took her under his wing. Like, we've seen some really good stuff from him, and not just like, oh, doofy ransom, he's fallen asleep in the corner again. I guess we have to save the day.
Because even if that is your tactic, you have no way of knowing that, if the lower deckers are going to come around to working together, to cooperating only because you fell asleep, or B, how long it'll take them to get to that point. It could have never happened. It could have been 3 hours later, and it's just a stupid ploy.
Right. You might have to explain that if it didn't go well.
Right.
Well, I was just pretending to be asleep because I was trying to inspire them to work together.
Yeah, when he gets called in for disciplinary action by the captain.
Right. Or an admiral or whomever. But I think if the idea was to make himself the common enemy amongst them, then you just be mean to them all and be extra strict. And so they feel like, but not to the point where you're not doing, like, you're pretending to snore while there's monsters tearing apart the shuttle bay.
Yeah. That's just you're absolutely right. I did not like that.
Yeah.
More so than go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Al, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say I disliked it more than I disliked the Ta'ana thing. But we haven't talked about Billups yet. Let's get to that as soon as we can. But Keith, go right ahead with what you were
I was just gonna say little things like that is why in some ways this almost reminds me of a first season or second, but they remind me, some of the humor, like their early days of the show, not what I would think of as their final days of the show. So because I agree, because you're right, Ransom he wouldn't take that chance. Now he might do something like say, oh, I got something to do, and he might leave the room and stand there and watch them. But to actively make himself look like that was a little too slapstick for me.
Yeah, or if it was a situation where he knew it wasn't dangerous and the enemy was not. Right? And he knew that he can sit there and pretend to snooze and these monsters will do XYZ because because he has more knowledge, more information than they have. But then again, that's keeping it a story about the lower deckers instead of about Ransom, right? Because I don't know. Even if this had been a flashback to 5 years ago and we're seeing him 5 years ago, I just felt like it just felt out of place for me. But let's get to Billups.
That was an interesting way that he was dealing with his, again, another lower decker.
Right.
Yeah. It was interesting.
You were saying something about that earlier.
Oh yeah, I was going to add that there was a lot of lower deckers involved in saving the day.
Veronica, you made a really good point while we were watching the episode.
Yeah, so I noticed this like right at the beginning when they were like going into the thing and talking about the bridge crew, and I'm like, but Tendi and Talin should be in there because they're the senior science officer, and the senior science officer should, even if they're not like on the bridge, they should be in those briefings. Why weren't they in the briefings?
Like that just happened last week.
Point. Yeah, that's a good point. How did I not think of that?
I didn't either. And she said it, and I was like, because I'm so used to the status quo, I guess. But I was like, you're right. Last week they became senior. Like, why are they hanging out with the lower deckers instead?
It's almost like they should have had this episode in the 7th slot and last week's in this slot.
Or it's almost like they wrote it 4 years ago.
Or it's almost like they shouldn't have done this episode at all.
like someone like, hey, remember this episode we never did? Let's do it. It did seem like it didn't fit to me.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, that old feeling. It does. A lot of the episodes this year season feel older to me, as if they were written earlier.
Yeah. Like I said, I didn't hate this episode or anything. There's a lot of stuff that I did like. I know I'm being kind of complaining on this one, but it's because I'm so used to Lower Decks being so good.
Yeah,
true.
True. Well, and speaking of all this, we have 2 episodes now.
Two episodes left, and I'll bet you it's going to be a 2-parter.
Yeah, because they've got the Fishers to deal with now, right? So they have basically 40 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever.
And we've only got cursory involvement of those things throughout the
Mhm.
season. So that's got to be the focus at the end.
Yeah.
And I'm just guessing it's going to be a 2-parter.
Yeah, it would have
Which
to.
Yeah,
I'm
that's usually what they do.
Yep.
Right.
And
So go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
Comments.
Go ahead.
Matt says, I think the Clickets would get on well with the Tellarites.
True.
And Elaine says they were space roly-polies.
That's true. The one of them even rolled up at the end and was rolling through space.
Yeah.
You mean doodlebugs, right?
Yes.
Since we're not in Georgia.
Roly polies.
I never heard that until I moved here. It's doodlebugs back in Texas.
Right.
So yeah.
No, I was
you're
raised
right.
in Georgia. It's roly polies here.
Roly-polies.
It's ant piles, not ant hills.
I can't get on board with that.
What? No, I've never heard that.
I have
No.
never heard that.
You lost us, Ron.
Sorry.
That's
Oh,
great.
that's good.
No, I was going to say that. I mean, we haven't had like a recurring antagonist this year.
True.
Yeah.
And all we have is the Space Fishers thing. And we did see in the trailer that there's going to be at least one more legacy cameo that we've not seen yet. But
Right. That's true.
yeah. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what they're going to do. I'm hoping they
Me
end
too.
Lower Decks in a big way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get Crisis Point 3 this season to finish out the
True.
trilogy. You know,
Yes.
Mm.
and I'm
Mhm.
disappointed that we haven't seen Section 31 Boimler at any point.
I know.
Yeah,
Unless he
you're
shows up in
right.
the next 2 weeks. It's just a few, like, to me, things that they could have brought back around this year.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
now I'm going
that's
to
a
be
good
wondering. I
point.
don't want to be wondering for the rest of my life what happened to William Boimler in Section 31. I mean, unless
Read
you're
the
right, unless
comic
he's going to be
books.
in the movie. You know, if he's going to be in the Section 31 movie, I'd be on board with that.
That'd be fun.
Take a little time travel, probably, but he can get there.
Hell, yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can get Jack on board to do a live action
sure.
different Boimler.
I'm
Yes.
sure he would love to.
I would, yeah.
I did notice that this week, I guess Rutherford has already ditched the beard. Like he was
Yes.
growing a beard.
Oh,
along
yeah.
a much better beard last
Mhm.
year. This year he was back to being, or this week he was back to being clean shaven.
Yeah.
So I guess
Again,
he's-
it's like they should have put this episode earlier in the season.
right. Unless he
Hmm.
learned his lesson last week about stealing someone's vibe. You know, he tried it for a week and it didn't work out. And
Yeah, true.
you know, Boimler, no, he's all in. So
Yeah.
I'm expecting we're gonna see the resolution of that storyline. I
Oh,
hope
yes.
so, because we only got 2
Oh.
episodes left of the show. So
Yeah.
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 Yeah. There's so much
All right,
I
one-
wonder if they're going to do.
Right.
One last comment from Matt. If we can get Boimler in Section 31, we can get Trip there too.
I think he's talking about all the stuff that happened in Enterprise, right? After the
Mhm.
series.
Yeah, he'd have to
Okay.
be because that's where Trip's from.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm sure. But if they're gonna do all that, then you know, may as well get Alexander Siddig in there.
Yes.
True.
Hey,
Yes.
why not?
Let's just have everybody in it.
Yeah, everyone who's ever been in Section 31 except Malcolm Reed, bring him into Section 31, the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next 2 weeks. I'm hoping that they end Lower Decks big. This wasn't my favorite episode, but last
Mhm.
week's episode I thought was really good, and I really loved the Klingon episode, and I really enjoyed the Orion opening.
Mhm.
And overall, I wouldn't say it's my favorite Lower Decks season, but
No, me either.
yeah, I'm hoping that they'll end in a big way, and I'll be like, oh, I was crazy. This is a great season.
But at the same time, last year, the 2-parter at the end was some of the best Lower Decks episodes
Yeah.
ever.
True.
It
So
was.
I feel perfectly safe
Mhm.
in the hands of these people going into this finale that we're going to get something great.
Yeah, they're
Is-
really good at finales.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there
Yes.
one single thing you would want most in the finale? Like Charles, you said, if they never come back, there's something
Yeah.
you just like to see.
I want it to not be a finale.
Right.
Yeah.
I would love for them to do To Be Continued, just to be a
Oh,
feud
wow.
at Paramount Plus.
Oh my gosh.
End it with like the class of like dun 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 dun. Or even have Mariner go, Mr. Boimler, fire at the end.
Wow. That would be great.
Yes.
That would be awesome.
Oh
How
my
about you,
God, that would be
Veronica?
amazing.
I want to see William Boimler and
Mhm.
there was something else I had in my head and it's gone now.
Okay.
I'll remember later.
I think for me, it's
Not too
very
much, Lando. The show's over.
Yeah. I think for me, it's very traditional. I would like to see people get promoted, not because not because it's fan service, but it actually makes sense. And
Right.
if you think about
Mhm.
so many of the series, people didn't get promoted because they had to hold them together forever. There's no way in real life Riker would still have been on the Enterprise that long. It is what it is. So I would actually love to see Carol get a different command, a bigger starship, first contact ship. And I would like to see Mariner and all them actually get promoted because they've actually earned it outside of everything.
They have earned it. That's the point.
Yeah.
Exactly. You want to
Right.
see it happen because over these 5 seasons, you have seen their growth and their improvement and the way that they have, taken ownership of their positions and their jobs. And yes, they have earned it. And I really want to see it.
Yeah.
See, we'll just meld those ideas, and we'll end with them becoming upper deckers, and then at the end, it will be coming this fall, Star Trek Upper Decks, the Paramount Plus, and it'll be like
amazing,
the greatest PR move that Paramount Plus has ever done.
Although not gonna happen.
I've been watching Paramount for a long time, and I don't know that that's going to be the case.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up then. Next week we'll be back. We're going live on Thursday evening, talking about episode 9 of Star Trek Lower Deck season 5. We've only got 2 weeks left. We'll also be pairing that probably with a legacy Star Trek topic.
Right. So let's just say if somebody has a topic that they would like us to do, and you want to suggest what we should talk about for the first half of next week's episode, email us or just plop it into our socials, and if we get suggestions, we'll consider them.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be fun.
Or if you've got a question of the week or just an opinion you'd like to share on the season, you can also call us. You can call 307-387-1701, 307-387-1701. Leave us a voicemail, and we may play it on the show. And I think it'd be fun to hear more voices on the show.
Agreed. And I just want to say, since we played the ad for Stellar Fest earlier in the show, don't forget that we are all together working on a book, the Earth Station Trek Guide to Star Trek. And this is going to be experiencing the Trekverse in a very different way from the 4 of us. We have some really, really interesting topics that we're writing about, stuff that we've never talked about on the show. So that'll be released. The plan is that it'll be released at Stellar Fest.
That's right.
So definitely come to Stellar Fest to have your first opportunity to get a copy of the book. And we're going to be doing a panel about it. We'll be doing signings. So definitely come to Stellar Fest for that.
Absolutely. All right, Keith, where can people find more of you?
You can find me on Facebook, primarily the ESO Network Facebook groups. Notice I left another one out.
Yeah.
And how about you, Alan?
Well, head on over to cosmiccreative.com, KOZMIC creative.com. There you will find information about an upcoming book series that I have coming out, an upcoming documentary about Hulanta. There's lots of information about that. And I'll start I don't remember if I have yet or not, but it's not very full. I'll start a page for the Trek book that we're all working on. And that'll be on the website very, very soon.
And how about us, Veronica?
Feltnerdy.com.
Yep. Or feltnerdyanddirty.com if you like our adult content. Our next live show is going to be, what's wrong?
Do we have feltnerdyanddirty.com?
Oh, no. But on social media, you can go to Felt Nerdy and Dirty. You're right. I got excited. That's not a bad
I
idea.
was like,
But our next live performance is going to be at the Holiday Puck and Puppet Show, which is December 21st, and it starts at 10 p.m. And I pointed this out recently on my Facebook, but my birthday is December 22nd, which is the following day. And we usually go on in the back half or towards the end of the show. So it's possible that I'll be turning 44 live on stage at the Holiday Puck and Puppet Show, depending on how the timing works out. So I might be, before your eyes, become a 44-year-old man.
Wow. That'll be magical.
Right.
Will we actually see a difference?
I hope not, because the differences up to this point haven't been great.
I just want to also compliment you on the fact that you've been doing this show for enough times now that over the last few years, you have gotten really great at saying that name without screwing up in any dangerous way.
I know. I'm pretty used to saying it the right way.
Good job, buddy.
Occasionally I'll have to bleep myself, but you know. Also, you can find us at Monkeying Around, who's our podcast about the monkeys. And coming up next, we're doing a live show. I think was it December the 15th, which is a Sunday. we'll do giving away our talking about our Monkeys fans holiday gift guide. Things that we think that Monkeys fans should be shopping for. So if you don't know what to buy the Monkeys fan in your life, tune into that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And also we've got an
We'll be drinking.
It'll be a boozy, fun holiday episode.
Fun.
Yep. And then we'll be following that with a panel discussion talking about the Monkeys album, The Monkeys Present, which is going to be a lot of fun. We've got Alan is going to be on that from Modern Musicology. Also, Carrie Gordon from Metal Geeks and Chris Nietzsche from Metal Exchange. We're going to have a good panel discussion. We've got some experts on here coming in and talking.
Wait a minute. You have Alan from Modern Musicology. I thought you had Alan from Earth Station Trek on that show.
Yeah, I talk to him all the time.
Oh.
All right, Veronica, do you have a closing for us this week?
Uh-uh.
Oh,
I
come
do.
on. Go ahead, Alan.
Good, Alan.
Okay. The closing for the week is I have made a joke at your expense. Boom.
That was good. That was good. All right. Thank you for joining us, everybody.
Take care, y'all. See you next Thursday.
Take care.
8 o'clock
Bye.
p.m. Eastern.
Bye.